Hello everyone, my name is Mark, and welcome to my top 10 solo board games of all time. So, my top 10 solo board games of all time. Sometimes, as a board gamer, I am in the mood to play a board game, and nobody else is. So, it is nice to have board games that are made for just one player. And so that's what this list is. This is not a list of board games that have a solo mode or that are cooperative that can be played solo. This is a list of games that are solely made for one person. I don't believe any of them, some of them might have a two-player mode, but that is a mode that can be played even though it is built for a single person to play. So, let's get started. Number 10. Number 10 is Deck of Wonders. And that's kind of cool. There's a little map inside here that I hadn't noticed before inside the box lid. Deck of Wonders is basically a game about like a Magic the Gathering type of a game. If you've ever played one of those like deck construction where you build a deck before you play the game, and then you play that game with your constructed deck. This game is basically a way of playing that by yourself. So it is a single deck of cards. Now the theme here is that you are playing against fate itself. Fate has stacked the deck against you, and you are attempting to beat fate and take control of the Deck of Wonders. But basically you are going to build a deck and use that deck to play it against itself. So some of the cards in that deck you'll play as your own cards, and some of the cards in that deck you'll play against yourself. And you have to use those interactions to win against the deck, dealing enough damage to the opponent to win. And this is it's like any of your deck construction games, but it plays solo, and it's pretty awesome. It also has kind of a little bit of a legacy element to it. There are several packs of cards that once you beat the first level, you'll open these up and add those to your collection. And in addition to that, it has a set of stickers that every time you beat a game, you can take a sticker and put it on one of the cards that you beat that game with. That does a little bit of mitigation. It can make some of your cards more powerful. It can make some of the cards less powerful when they're played by your opponent. And the art is beautiful in this game. Let's see, it is designed by Dennis Furia. I don't know that I'm pronouncing that right. And it is illustrated by Lauren A. Brown. And Lauren does a great job illustrating it. You can see some of them on the sides of this box here. It is a beautiful game. It has some online support, so if you get through the entirety of what there is, then there are some challenge decks that have been made online that you can go and see on the website. I would say some possible negatives if you are not a fan of those type of deck construction games like Magic the Gathering or like Keyforge. Keyforge is another one of my favorites of those. Then I doubt this will change your mind. Also, it is quite lucky because you are playing this one deck of cards against yourself. You may construct this deck hoping that you get all of the cards in it. And if your opponent gets some of them, then they're quite powerful against you as well. And so the luck in there is who is drawing what cards. So there is quite a bit of luck involved. And also except for the expansion, it doesn't give you any of that, like, I am going to buy a booster, do I get a rare card? That isn't involved in this at all, so if that's what you like about those types of games, you won't see that in this game either. But number 10, Deck of Wonders, is an excellent solo-only game. Number 9 is Coffee Roaster. And Coffee Roaster is a bag building game. And the theme, I mean, obviously you are roasting coffee. You are going to, over the course of several rounds, pull a bunch of tokens out of the bag representing coffee beans. And then you will roast those beans or take actions with those tokens representing beans, exchanging them for others. and putting them back into the bag to start a new round and draw some more and do the same thing. It is quite good. It presents quite a challenging puzzle, and it can also be a little bit lucky, but there's a ton of different types of coffee that you can use in the game, each with a different challenge to bring you to. So a different puzzle, the different end game goal, how light or dark you want the coffee to be roasted. At the end of the game, you will have a cup test. So basically, you are going to construct your bag of coffee beans, and at the end of the game, you draw out a certain number of them and put them into your cup. So as I said, with the different types of roasts, you'll be looking for a different thing, a different amount of darkness in the roast for each of those different types of coffee. If you get the correct amount in that cup, then you win, and you'll get different points, different amounts of points for how exactly close you got to that. It is a bag builder. If you enjoy like the deck construction kind of a thing, or bag building games in general, like for example Orleans, then you will probably enjoy this game. As I already said, it has a really interesting puzzle to it, and each one of them is quite different in what they want you to create in that bag. It does take quite a few plays to master how that system works. So if you don't like buying a game and not being able to win it right away, like I typically don't like to lose a game a lot. A solo game, I should say. I'm perfectly fine losing when I'm playing with other people. But I don't like to play a game and play a game and play a game and lose and lose and lose and lose if it's just a solo game. That just doesn't make me feel all that great. I'm just constantly losing. It does take a little while to learn the system, how this works, and what you should do to get the right stuff into your bag so that when you pull it out at the end of the game, you have the highest chances of winning that game. So it takes a little while to figure that out. So that isn't my favorite thing about it. But now that I have figured out, I really like it. So that is Coffee Roaster, my number 9 favorite solo game. My number 8 favorite solo game is Sprawlopolis. This little guy right here. It's a wallet game, and this is made by Button Shy Games and Stephen Armani and Danny Devine and Paul Kluka. And I'm sure I got all of those wrong. I apologize. But this is a very simple to learn, simple to play puzzle game where you are just playing cards on the table on top of each other or next to each other. In this game, you have to play them on the table to get points to score at the end of the game. And it is a game where you are trying to beat the amount of points set up for you in the setup for the game. So to start the game, you will draw 3 cards out of the deck. I believe it's 18 cards, but you'll draw 3 cards out of the deck, and those will be your scoring cards, and the rest of the deck will just be your cards that you're playing into your play area. And playing them on top of each other, next to each other, etc., to try to cover up some things or leave some things open and put certain tiles or certain quadrants, I guess, of each card next to other quadrants of the same type, and also connect the roads that are on them. And in so doing, you will get different amounts of points based on the 3 scorecards that have been set up for you. Once you've played every card in the game, then you will score based on those 3 cards, and hopefully you'll get a higher score than the 3 cards have added up. And if you do, then you win. And so it's quite a simple game, but it creates a really challenging puzzle, and it's really easy to learn, but it's difficult to master. There's a lot of variety to this game since there are again, I believe this 18 cards, and so your combination of those 3 of the 18 cards that you pull out or to start your scoring, to see how you're scoring your display, there's a different combination every single time. So every game will be very different from the last one. In addition to that, there are different games. There's Agropolis also, and then you can combine them with Combopolis, And so this is just a different theme, has some slightly different rules, but you can combine them with Combopolis, and then there's several, I have several expansions in this box as well that go along with it. And so that adds a ton of variety to this game, and it can go anywhere. It's just in a little wallet here, and it is not that big. So, I mean, I guess depending on how you create your space, you would go really long. It might take up a little bit of table space, but it's pretty small footprint, and it's fairly inexpensive. If you just go onto Button Shy Games, I'm not sure you can find it anywhere else, but Button Shy Games sells it on their website, and it's fairly inexpensive. In addition to that, it's a very quick game, and so you can get out quite a few plays if you're into that. It can be a little bit of a brain burner. The puzzle there can take some time to decide, where do I want to put this? Where do I want to put that? Even still, it's still fairly quick. So if you like that stuff, I highly recommend Sprawlopolis, Agropolis, and I believe there is a third one that has just come out. I don't remember the name of it, but you can look for it. My number 7 solo game of all time is Black Sonata. This is a game that is themed around William Shakespeare's plays, or rather his works, and the quote-unquote dark lady that he writes about in several of his letters. And basically you're trying to figure out who that is, because in all of these works he never actually identifies who this dark lady is. And there are several people historically that it could be. This game sets out to have you figure out who that lady is that he's talking about. So this, maybe obviously from that description, is a deduction game in which you take the deck of dark ladies and you pull one of those out after shuffling them and set it aside. And you need to figure out who that dark lady is based on who is not in that space, based on who is left in the deck, I should say. In the base game, there are symbols on each card, and basically a more simple way of putting it is you're looking for the 3 symbols that are uniquely on that card. And to do that, there is a board where you're going to be walking around on that board, taking turns to do that, while the Dark Lady also moves around on that board using it is called the Stealth Deck. This deck there's a bunch of really fun, unique gimmicks to this game. One of them is that Stealth Deck. And that Stealth Deck has locations on the board. I believe there are 10-ish locations on the board that you can move around to, and they're linked in different ways. And that Stealth Deck is created in such a way that it has letters on the top and bottom of each card, and you'll create a deck using A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just using the alphabet, putting them in order from A to B, or A to Z, and there are 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom, so you'll choose one of those eight ways and arrange the cards based on the letters on there, and then that creates the secrecy deck, and that's set up in such a way that she will move around the board from location to location, and will be in an adjacent location each time. Now, in order to find out where she is, first of all, you have to look for her at the same time that she is in that location in order to find her and then discover something about her. So what you'll do is you'll take one of the cards that is represented by the locations, or that represents the locations, and you'll slide it under the card that she is currently at, and then look at the back, and there's a hole in a different location on each one of those location cards. And if you can see her silhouette through that hole, then she is in that location with you. By the way, I should mention each of the locations has a symbol, has 1 or more symbols, 1 to 3, I think. Symbols related to the type of location that it is. And the Stealth Deck has one of those symbols on the back of it, so that you know that she is in a location with that symbol at that time. And there's always 2 or more locations with that symbol, so she could be in any number of places. And as you're going through the deck, you will kind of get an idea of where she's going based on those symbols. By the way, I should mention you go through that deck, I think 4 times, 3 or 4 times, and you can adjust that difficulty up or down if you want it to be a harder game or an easier game. In any case, you'll hopefully get the pattern of where she's going that first time, so the second time around you can be somewhere when she gets there, and you'll know that she's going to be there. In any case, when you find her, then you draw one of the other Dark Lady cards that was not chosen, and you'll see which icons that card has in relation to this card. And it will say based on the suit. That's another thing in there. I'm going to try not to go into too much detail in this game. You'll see the based on the suit, how many symbols that card has in relation to this one. And then you keep going through the game and pulling out more cards and getting more information, and hopefully eventually you'll have enough information to discover which of the symbols are on that card that you chose. When you think you've figured it out, then you find her one more time and you flip that card over, and if you have the symbols correct, you win. And if you don't, then you lose. And it's as simple as that. One of the nice things about this, if you are not a fan of beat your own score type of games, this is not a beat your own score type of a game. This is a win, lose, that's it. In addition to that, it has several modular expansions. I have one expansion, and it includes 3-ish modular expansion modules, I should say, that you add into the game. They each add a level of something that makes it slightly easier and something that makes it slightly more difficult at the same time, and or something else that you have to figure out about the Dark Lady. And I really enjoy the puzzle here, the deduction that you have to do, and the fact that there's quite a bit of variety. If you have done those 8 different methods of the stealth deck, then there are a ton of other ways to create that stealth deck in the back of the book. There's several other ones that use a formation of how to set up the numbers the letters or dashes. And they have varying amounts of cards in them, so maybe her path is longer or shorter. In any case, there's just a lot of variation in this game. And in addition to that, like I said, the cool gimmicks that it has, I really like. Now, if you are not a fan of deduction, you probably will not like this game. The theme is really cool. I really like Black Sonata. My number 6 solo game of all time, at least as of now, is Kingdom Legacy: Feudal Kingdom. And this is a fairly large deck of cards. As you can see, I named mine the Shire. But this is a pretty brand new game, especially to the US. It just came over to the US. I actually bought this from Fricks Games' website overseas and had it shipped. And then just found out recently, well, I played through it, but I just found out recently that they are now selling it on Miniature Market. So that's really cool that it finally came over here. In any case, this is a legacy game, as is kind of hinted at by the name of it, Legacy Kingdom. It is a solo legacy game with a deck of cards. What that means is you will be tearing up cards, which I haven't done, but I set them aside never to be used again. So you'll be tearing up cards, you'll be adding stickers to cards, you'll be writing on cards, etc., and playing through this entire deck of cards until you get to the end. It has a really fun feudal kingdom theme. I have heard that there are other themes that are going to be coming out, all under the Kingdom Legacy name, but with a different kingdom name. In this game, you will start with a deck of 20 cards, and you'll shuffle them up, and then you'll pull out 4 at a time, and you'll choose what to do with those 4. Now, this has a really cool gimmick in which each card, or rather I should say the vast majority of cards, have 4 sides to them, meaning you can have it rotated. Actually, I'll just pull one of these out since I have this over here. This is one of the cards that got purged, meaning it is no longer in the game. So you'll see that you have, this is the first way to put it with the number on the top. And if you can get on other cards the amount, the cost that it costs to upgrade it, then you flip it around and it is now in your deck this way. And if you can get that cost again up here, then you flip it around this way and it is now in your deck this way. And if you get this if you are able to pay that cost again, then you can upgrade it to here. So there are 4 different ways for the vast majority of these cards. There are 4 different ways that they can be in your deck. And it is really fun to go through your deck multiple times and each time try and upgrade your cards so that they're better and better and better each time, so that the next time you'll have that card that gives you all of these resources so you can upgrade that other cool card that has something cool on it that I want to see what it is because it tells me to go into the legacy deck portion of it and pull out these cards and add them to the deck. It's a lot of fun to see where this is going. It's quite inexpensive, actually. I think it's $15 or less. And it has a couple of expansions that are pretty cool as well. You will go through that deck until you get to card 70. Now that is not the legacy part. There's cards past card 70 that will be pulled out and added to your deck later. But each round you will add 2 more cards from that initial 70 cards into your deck. So that 20 card deck by the end is like, 70-ish cards. Something else that that you may or may not like. I like the art on this in here, but I have heard that it is AI generated art. Now, that doesn't mean anything to me necessarily. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other about that, but you might. So that may be a positive or a negative to you. I don't know. Also, if you don't like destroying cards, then you may not like that. Although, like I do, you might just want to set them aside and see what happens. And then, at least in the first 20, you can redo that over and over until you're happy. Or the first 24 or 26, I believe. In any case, this is a lot of fun, and there are several mutually exclusive paths that you can go down. And so you may even want to buy more than one copy so that you can play down this one path in one copy and then play down this other path in another copy, because you may do something with this card that destroys it, that gets you this really cool thing. But had you kept it, you wouldn't be able to do this other really cool thing, but you would be able to do this really cool thing. It is something that you may end up getting more than one copy so you can play through as many different types of ways as possible. So that is my number 6, Kingdom Legacy. My number 5 solo game of all time is Maquis. This has a very interesting theme. It is the French resistance to Nazi France occupation. And you are playing as resistance operatives. And this is a worker placement game wherein you will place your workers on the board, and then you will draw from a separate deck of cards where you will place and I forget what they call them, but the police officers basically. And they will go on the board, and if you cannot trace a clear path back to your safe house, you lose a worker. And that is it can be quite devastating to your game. However, you can also recruit more people. But as I said, it is a worker placement game, and the theme is very strong in this game. It's very fun. The different locations where you go to drop things off in another place that you can then go and get those resources. And so you're going to be gathering resources to attempt to fulfill 2 missions. There's a deck of cards that has the different missions that are varying difficulty, and you'll put those 2 missions at the top, and often you will have to go to that place with one of your workers and drop off a bunch of the resources that you've collected, whether it be food, money, weapons, intel, and yeah, so it is excellent fun with how long you have. The tension in this game, the longer you play, the more people will come out based on how your morale is. Or if you have more people, then more police officers will come out. You even get to create board spaces. So it is a dual layer board, and two or three of the locations are just spare rooms, and if you get the right resources, then you can build a room in one of those spare rooms, and then you can customize the board the way you want to play it. And it has quite a variety in those different missions and all the resources that you can get, etc. And as I've already said, the theme is really fun. I really enjoy this game. Now, I will say, if you play it back to back to back to back, then it may get to feel a little bit the same, because it is a similar puzzle. Even though there are quite a few different missions, the way you accomplish missions, if you come up with a system that works, you may find yourself just using that system over and over. So I don't necessarily recommend playing it back to back to back, but as long as you leave some space there and come back to it every so often, it is a really fun game, and I really enjoy it. And that is Maquis. My number 4 is Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. Now, I am a fan of Gloomhaven. It was my number 1 game for a little while, for a good long time actually. I did finish the campaign, for those of you who might ask, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I now have Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion that I played like one half of a scenario or one full scenario. It was a little while ago. I haven't played it in a little while because after finishing the entire campaign, I needed a break. I have since sold the full Gloomhaven. Even with the painted miniatures that I did, I was very happy to give that to somebody who would enjoy it. But when I saw Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, a solo-only adventure, I just had to get it, because I really enjoy Gloomhaven. And so this really is Gloomhaven in a very small solo box. If you do not like Gloomhaven, this will not likely change your mind. If you do really like Gloomhaven, but you want to play it by yourself without having to do more than one character, and you just want that feel, and you don't want to have to set up a huge thing or have that large box, this is the box for you. Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. It has all of the same Gloomhaven feel, the card selection, different classes, the story that's there, and the tactics, and the art. So again, just to say that if you really like Gloomhaven, you will really like this. If you don't like Gloomhaven, you probably won't like this. If you're on the fence about Gloomhaven, give it a shot. It's not that expensive. And it has fun little teeny tiny, what did they call them? Not miniatures, they called them microatures or something like that. But it's very fun. It does have a difficulty problem. Now, Gloomhaven may have had that problem as well. I tended to reduce the difficulty for myself, just because, as I said earlier in this video, I'm not a huge fan of losing and then doing the same scenario and then losing again, and then doing the same scenario and losing again. And so I'm okay losing a scenario once. I don't really want to lose it a second time. So I will typically reduce the difficulty level for myself if I've lost, especially multiple times. Which, hey, if you don't like doing that, more power to you. That's not fun for me to lose over and over and over. So I made the game fun for me. And since I'm only playing by myself, I have no problem breaking the rules a little bit to make it fun for me, right? In any case, this right here is quite difficult. And I've played it on the normal difficulty level, and it is very difficult. And I played it on the reduced difficulty level, and it's still pretty difficult. I actually still haven't made it all the way through the entirety of the campaign in here. But that brings me to the next point, and that is, as much as it does have a story, and it is slightly branching, it is only branching in the sense that if you are using a different character class, then you take a different scenario, I believe, every other game. And so most of the story is going to be the same every time you play it through with a different class, which may not be the most fun thing. Again, I haven't played it through the entire game with a single class yet, so I wouldn't know that. However, I mean, it's still, I'm enjoying it enough that it's number 4. And so that may also be a slight negative to that. But for an experience of Gloomhaven that I have really enjoyed Gloomhaven in the past, this brings it back in a smaller, much more manageable footprint, etc. This is a really good game. I really enjoy Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. My number 3 solo game is For Northwood. This is a tiny little box. It's empty. I have it over there somewhere. That is as it says right on it, a solo trick-taking game. Now, unlike most of the other games on this list, which usually, most of them have some sort of story, or they are story-driven themselves, this has basically no story at all. It's just, it's pretty themeless. It's just your typical trick-taking game, except that it is solo. And it works really well. You may not think that a trick-taking game would work solo. In fact, there was, until recently, a trick-taking game with 2 players was basically not thought to be able to be done. And we now have a lot of 2-player trick-taking games. They're actually really fun. I enjoy them anyway. But solo, this really works. And the way they did it, very simply, was you play a card, you have your own deck of, or your own hand of cards, and as in a normal trick-taking game, after your opponent plays a card, you just play that card from the top of the deck, and then you have to respond. And again, in a normal trick, I'm not going to go through trick-taking rules, but as in a normal trick-taking game, you have to follow suit. So if you have a suit of that, or if you have a card of that suit, then you have to play it. And then you win or lose that trick based on if you have the highest card of the lead suit, right? Or if you have trump. However, you have an array of cards that you have set up at the beginning that goes from 0 to 7, and you're dealt 8 cards, I should say. So your hand of cards is 8. So 0 to 7. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you select, after you have your hand of cards, you select which one of those you want to attempt to achieve. And that is the number of tricks that you are going to take. So if I have a hand of cards, and I see that I have a lot in one suit, then I may, depending on whether that suit is trump or not, and I won't go into the rules too much, but another card that is set on top of that number determines which suit is the trump. So if the 7 over there has the trump suit, same as the cards that I have in my hand, then I might go, well, I'm going to get all 7 on this one, so I'm going to go for that one. And then you play out the hand going for the goal of, I'm going to take 7 tricks. Or conversely, if you have nearly all of one suit and it is not the trump suit, then maybe you want to go for the 0 or the 1, thus taking 0 or 1 tricks in this hand. And each one of those is going to get you a certain number of stars. And by the end of the game, so you have to attempt each one of those once. You get 1 chance at each of the 0 through 7. And any of them you fail, you just have to flip the card over and you don't get any stars or any points for that particular number. Once you've attempted each one of them, you have to get a total of, I believe, 16 stars in order to win, which basically means, since the 2 outside cards, so the 0 and the 7, are each worth 4 stars, then 3, then 2, then 1, if you lose one of the outside cards, the 0 or the 7, and any one other, because there's a total of 20 stars, if I'm doing my math correctly and if I remember, there's a total of 20 stars. So if you lose one of those outside ones and any other one, then you will lose the game. And it's a really interesting challenge to see how that works. In addition to that, there are powers that you can get on the court cards, not the court cards. By the way, the numbers go from 1 on the hand of cards. They go from 1 to, I believe, 9, 8 or 9. And the other cards just tell you what suit is trump, and then they each have a power that you can use them for in the game, which that is where the variety comes in, is using those, using and manipulating those powers to manipulate your hand of cards, or what has been played, or how many tricks you've taken, etc. And that's where this game really shines. And it is a really interesting puzzle, and it's really, it is really well done, and it's fairly quick, and it's very fun. And in addition to that, it has, well, so first of all, it has PVC cards. So it lasts really well. It goes through quite a beating. I've had to a couple of times, like, kind of scrape off some of the oils that accumulate on cards from your hand, and then keep going. And they're lasting really well. It's really durable. All the art on it, which the little, as you can see here, the little characters are really cute, and they're fun drawing. So it's very durable. It's very quick. Now, it can be pretty lucky, and that if you don't like, well, first of all, if you don't like trick-taking games, well, this might change your mind. I don't know. I don't know of anybody that doesn't like trick-taking games that has tried this. But, I mean, it's fairly cheap. Give it a shot. But it is pretty lucky, because obviously you have 8 cards, and there's a whole deck here. And if you draw that one card that is in the deck that you need to not be the card that plays, and that might just mess you up. But the cool thing about it is, even if you have definitely lost, so as I said before, you have to play through all of them. Well, if you play through a 0 or a 7 and you lose, and then you lose one other one, you know you've already lost the game. So it's very easy to just clean it up, start over, right? So though it's very lucky, it's very easy to quick play another game. The other cool thing is, once you've gone through the basic set of cards and powers and stuff like that, in the basic setup, then there's an entire booklet of challenges, and meaning you have to set up the game this particular way, and your goal is now different in some way. And you have to use these powers in this specific way, or you have to not gain those number of tricks, but do this slightly different thing. And it's very fun. I haven't gotten through the entire scenario, or the entire challenge booklet of all of the different scenarios. There's a lot of them in there, but it's quite fun. And it's got a lot of gameplay in there. Anyway, this is a great little game. I highly recommend it. For Northwood, my number 3. My number 2 solo game is Nemo's War. Nemo's War is excellent, as is evidenced by the fact that it is my number 2. This, if you've never read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, this really does a great job of emulating that story. If you have read it, it still does a great job of emulating that story. And Nemo's fight, well, depending on which archetype you select for Nemo, but that's a cool little part of this game. In any case, so this game is a kind of a story game. It kind of has a war game feel to it, because you put little ships out all over. I should say, you are traveling in the Nautilus, Nemo's ship, around the entirety of the map of the world. And you're going from place to place to place in order to accomplish tasks. And each task in this game is defined by which archetype you play Nemo as. And therein is some of the variety in this game. It's very cool how they've set this up. So if you are basically a warmonger Nemo, then you just want to go around and just blow up ships. Just blow them up all over the place. If you are and I'm not remembering the names of these, I haven't played this in a little while. It's hard to get it to the table because it's long, but we'll get to that. If you're playing as the adventurer, then you just want to go on adventures, and you want to, as much as possible, ignore the ships that are going and trying to hunt you and stuff. So at the end of the game, you will count up points based on that archetype that you chose for Nemo this round. So if I chose the war one, then I will get way more points for each ship that I blew up during the game, right? However, if I chose the adventure one, then I might lose points for each ship that I blew up in the game. So I want to stay away as much as possible, right? Versus the other way to play. But the theme is just great in this. The art is awesome on the little on the cards. It's kind of, I believe it's a colored pencil drawing, but it fits the theme really well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should add to the gameplay. It's there. I think I should just leave it at that because it's quite a deep, complex game, which leads right into, if you are not a fan of deep or complex games, this definitely is not for you. It is long. It is a table hog. Again, why it hasn't made it to the table in a little while. But it is such a great game. So it has an action selection. You're going to roll dice to see how many actions you are going to get on each turn. The number will be determined by the difference between two dice. And then if you roll the same number, then you have a whole round where nothing happens, or you get to do a specific thing that I have forgotten what that was because it's been so long. There is a good amount of luck in this game too, because you're rolling dice, and you're rolling dice for combat as well. And I'm giving you a lot of negatives, but that's only because it is a big, big game. I really love this game. It has an expansion too that includes a bunch of extra cards for upgrading the Nautilus or choosing a different archetype, and it has some modular things that you can add in as well. And I could go in depth on that, but then this video would be really long. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. I really highly recommend that you check this out. It is an expensive game. It is a long game. But if you have the funds and you have the time, Nemo's War is excellent, and I highly recommend it. And my number one solo game of all time is Legacy of You. Legacy of You is just excellent. I have rated this a 10 out of 10 on BGG. It is great. The art, I have to say, Shem Phillips, huge fan, Sam Phillips, his brother. Shem is the designer. It's not on here, but Sam Phillips is the artist. And I really like all of the art that he does. He does Ezra and Nehemiah, and I believe we have all of the games currently in the Ancients line that he does the art for. And he's great artist. It is beautiful art, and the theme is really well done. The theme basically is you are you, the Chinese canal builder during a time in history when there was a lot of flooding going on in China. And so you was recruited to build canals to divert that floodwater away from the cities and stuff. And so that is the game. You are attempting to build these canals over the course of time, over the course of the game, and also fight off attacks from barbarians. And you do this with a lot of resource and hand management, and there's also a little bit of deck building involved, and also a very little bit of worker placement. And so over the course of this game, you'll use all of that to build up a better deck of people that are helping you, and so that you'll get more resources. You're going to be building buildings that will increase your production each turn, or add worker placement spaces so you can put workers there and get more resources and stuff. And obviously you'll be building that canal. And so you have to get that canal finished. The 6 sections that you need to build in that game, you need to get that canal finished before either the floodwaters reach you or you are overrun by the barbarians. Now, that is all well and good and very cool. But in addition to that, this is not a legacy game quite, because you don't destroy cards, but it is a campaign game wherein there are a lot of legacy elements. Now, it is resettable, fully resettable, and I've done that. So there is the story deck, and each game, during the game, you'll find this little symbol that's like a golden turtle with a number on it. And you'll go to this, so that's the selection numbered by that turtle in the storybook. And you'll read some of the story that's involved, and then you'll do something that will change the game for the rest of the campaign that you are playing. You'll add cards into the character deck. You'll add cards into the barbarian deck, making it harder. You'll add cards into the cards that are used to create the canals, so that it's either harder or easier, or you'll get different rewards, etc., etc. And you may, or you'll open up the ability to use some things that are on the cards that you don't even know what they do yet at the beginning of the campaign. At the end of the game, if you win, you will draw one card from the winning deck. And there are 6 cards, 7 if you include the end of the campaign. So I guess I should just say 7. There's 7 cards in the winning pile and 7 cards in the losing pile. And every time you win, you'll draw one of those cards, and it will generally give you something that makes the game harder. And every time you lose, you'll draw one of the cards from the losing pile, and it will give you something to add to the game that will generally make the game easier. So I mentioned before that I'm not a huge fan of losing a game over and over and over and having to replay it. This is a game that completely breaks that for me. I really enjoy this game so much that sometimes I'm like, I can win this, and I will win this, but I kind of wish I lost this game, because I want to see what I could get if I lost that and got that new power or whatever it was. It is a little, once you figure out the system and the way it works, and the key is that people are the most valuable thing, and the more people you have, the easier the game is. But in any case, once you figure out kind of how the game works, it becomes a lot easier than you might think. You're always thinking that you're going to lose this game. I shouldn't say always. The game is always a challenge. It always presents you with, how do I beat back these barbarians, have enough resources to beat back these barbarians and create this section of the canal before the flood comes in, wipes it out, and I lose, right? And so there's always that tension, but it's such it's such a fun, nice feeling tension that really makes this game a lot of fun. And so you'll play through games until you hit a total of 7 wins or a total of 7 losses, and then you draw that final card in either of those piles, and that will be the end of your campaign, a win or a loss. So you could play a minimum of 7 if you win every single one, or you lose every single one, or a maximum of 13 if you somehow evenly got all 12 of those, of the winning and loss, and then finally got the last win or loss from the either pile, right? Let's see if I talked about everything I wanted to. The campaign constantly changing, the difficulty is awesome. The story is great. It has a fairly small footprint for how much is in this game. This is not a hugely complex game like Nemo's War. Nemo's War is a very complex game. There's a lot going on in that. There are a lot of interesting decisions, but it is not enormously complex in my opinion. It's still got some stuff going on. It's complex. Your uninitiated hobby board gamer is not going to find this an easy game to understand. But it's not highly complex in the way that Nemo's War is. And the footprint is fairly small for how much game there is here. In any case, I love this game. This is an excellent game. I highly, highly recommend this game. Legacy of You, my #1 solo-only board game of all time. Well, thank you for joining me, and I really hope you enjoyed seeing all of my selections. There are several other solo-only board games that I own that I still have on my shelf that make it in, so these are by no means the only ones that I ever play, and I like a lot of variety in my games, so I will often pick another game that isn't even on this list over one of the games on this list, just because I want something different. So there's a lot of solo board games out there, and these are just, again, my top 10. Well, as I said, thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you found something that you didn't know existed before, or found something that you're going to run out and try out. All right. Again, thank you for joining me here, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.